All right, aloha, good afternoon, everyone. Welcome to the Hawaiian Affairs Committee hearing. I'm Senator Maile Shimabukuro, Chair of the committee. Other members of our committee include Vice Chair Senator Kurt Favela. We also have Senator Leslie Hara and Senators Jared Keohakalole and Tim Richards. This hearing is being streamed live on YouTube. You can find links to viewing options for all Senate hearings and meetings on the live and on-demand video page of the legislature's website. If you're interested in seeing the written testimony, go to the legislature's website at capitol.hawaii.gov. In the unlikely event that we must abruptly end this hearing due to major technical difficulties, the committee will reconvene to discuss any outstanding business and a public notice will be posted. For those testifying remotely, all testifier audio will be muted and video disabled until it's your turn to testify. As the committee's practice, there's a 2-minute time limit per testifier. If there are temporary technical glitches during your turn, we may have to move on to the next person due to time constraints. We appreciate your understanding and remind you that the committee has already received your written testimony. And members, please wait to ask your questions for the testifiers until we have gone through all testifiers for that measure. That being said, we're going to start with SB 2921. And this is relating to Department of Hawaiian Homelands amends Act 279 to conform its lapsing provision by 1 year to conform to constitutional limitations. And so first up, we have DHHL in support.
Aloha, Chair Shimabukuro, Vice Chair Favela, and members of the committee. The department stands on its written testimony in strong support of this measure, and I'm available for any questions. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Next, we have Department of Budget and Finance with comments. Okay. We have the Tax Foundation of Hawaii with comments. Ho'omanapono LLC, we have Kalai Manaole. Thank you so much. Individuals Ken Favorito and Leimomi Khan, both in support. Is there anyone else here to testify in SB 2921? Okay, seeing none, members, any questions? Okay. Let's move on then. SB 2640. This amends the Hawaiian Homes Commission Act to authorize DHHL to provide cash awards to beneficiaries on the wait list in lieu of a lease. So first we have Attorney General's Office with comments.
Good afternoon, Chair Shimabukuro, Vice Chair Favela, and members of the committee. Deputy Attorney General Jordan Ching on behalf of the Department of the Attorney General. The department has offered comments on this bill with 4 main recommendations. The first being to amend the language of the bill to clarify that there is no legal entitlement to the cash awards that are being considered under this measure. The second being to amend the bill to clarify what legal or what rights under the Hawaiian Homes Commission Act that a beneficiary would be relinquishing in exchange for a cash award. The third being to specify what fund under the Act would be used to source the proposed cash award, and the fourth being to amend Section 5 of the bill to take into account the likely possibility that it will require the DOI consent upon it to be effective.
Very good. Okay, thank you so much. Next, we have DHHL with comments.
The department stands on its testimony with written comments and
Okay. Next, we have Kenneth Favorito in support. Earl 10 in support. And if it was on Zoom, just shout out you are. Julia Estigoy Kaho'one with comments. Center for Hawaiian Sovereignty Studies opposition. And then we have Ho'omanapono LLC in support. Kalai Manaole.
Aloha, Chair, Vice Chair, Les, how you guys doing? All right, so yeah, with this issue, I had to wrestle with this for a bit because in 2022 December, I was interviewed by KHNL about this issue, and at first, I felt insulted that an award would be offered for me to sell my birthright, and I didn't think that was Pono. But last Friday, we had a commission meeting hearing that opened my eyes to a lot of possibilities that could be out there to solve this problem of the wait list. And I was one of the minority voices in that hearing. It was about condos and having people see if they wanted to take condos, yeah, instead of a lot. And one of my argument was that some people may want condos. I personally wouldn't want a condo. I just like straight land, but some people may want that. And so when I was wrestling with this issue yesterday, I understand now that one size does not fit all. And there may be people on the wait list that's comfortable in their fee simple homes right now while they're waiting on a wait list, that they just want to pay off their mortgage, and they would be willing to come off the wait list if they was able to get money to be able to do so. So based upon that, and my expanding my view that one size does not fit all, that there's something for everybody. And what I appreciate about all the bills that's before you today is that there is a lot of variety of things that is good to address people on the wait list. So I support it. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Mr. Manaole. Anyone else here for SB 2640? Seeing none, members, any questions?
Yeah.
Okay, Vice Chair.
Just going forward, how does this pay off when for the beneficiaries, get them off the wait list and help the HHL? How is that going to help Hawaiians getting homes, getting into housing?
As the measure is currently written, cash awards would be used for mortgage payment, rent payment, and down payment to purchase a home.
So you guys give a number. Because you're talking about purchasing a home. Homes in my community is 780,000. So if you're going to be giving that, wouldn't it be more feasible to expedite the bill out so that we can have Hawaiians be on the property and on the land?
The cash amount in the bill is purposely left blank. We are aware of the housing crisis in the state. If I may, I'd like to share a quote from Prince Kuhio, Jona Kuhio Kalani Anaole. After extensive investigation and survey on the part of various organizations organized to rehabilitate the Hawaiian race, it was found that the only method in which to rehabilitate the race was to place them back upon the soil. The department's current intention and purpose is to honor this through fulfillment of Section 208 of the Hawaiian Homes Commission Act, as well as HAR 10-3-21. We are currently taking a multi-pronged approach to attacking the waiting list, and we are aggressively meeting progress with Act 279. We're open to ideas and options that will help us to do that, but at this time, cash awards are not on the table for consideration by the Commission.
The reason why I bring that in, thank you for bringing up Prince Koyo, because he never like having blood quantum, but as you can see, we have blood quantum. And when he said he wanted to put everybody on the land, you didn't have to be Hawaiian. That was another thing that you got to remember, was all these people. Only ones that had the blood cocoa could have the property rights to royal patent lands. Another thing I wanted to share with you is that business, mercantile, all of that doesn't consider in the whole payoff. What if I was on the list to get farmland? What if I was on the list to get a business land? So what I'm trying to explain to you is this should not be a solution of taking our Hawaiians off the land and giving them money to going into another property that's not really set aside for what Prince Kuhio had set aside for. So this Hawaiian Commission Act that you're quoting, that is good because we're going to pay them off and they're going to move on. But that's not their land that was set aside on what the commission had put together for Prince Kuhio to have his people on their land. It wasn't said that if that was the case, then he would have done that a long time ago, pay everybody off and then Paul. This is why I have a hard time, and I understand a lot of community members have mixed feelings, but I'm going to tell you why it's a sensitive topic. Now, what about the people that died on the list? Now we're going to have bills coming up that if you die on the list, you know, your successors can get this. What about the successors that people died already? What about their accountability to this so-called numberless payout? This is not prioritizing Prince Kuhio's vision. It ain't. And I'm going to tell you, it ain't. It's to get them to their homes. Renting, I understand people want to do that. And like how the previous speaker said, not everybody wants to live in a house, condominium. That is fine. But when you go on the wait list, when you get into the rental, it's not taking you off the wait list, right? It's just waiting till your name come up. But that I can understand. But to pay somebody off the wait list, I don't think that's the solution of what the whole act was created for, paying people off the list. I understand this time and age, but we need to do better for Hawaiian people. We need to expedite the infrastructure and using every single source, every dollar possible to expedite that proceedings. And if we cannot fulfill that by putting a price on and saying somebody gonna get this award to use for rent, down payment, or for on home, how are you gonna structure that? How long the payout for that and the structure? Do you guys have the structure and the workers in place now to expedite what you're talking about? The structuring of each individual here, each payment for rent, each payment for a down payment. Do you guys have the structure for that right now?
Actually, to clarify, this is my bill, it's not their
No,
bill.
I know.
Yeah.
No, I know it's your bill. No, but I'm
Yeah.
asking that because she said, so the reason why, Chair, I know this is your bill because I see them.
Yeah.
Reason why I'm saying this is because she brought up Prince Cohill.
Yeah,
So that's the reason why I'm
that's why they have
talking,
concerns about the bill.
right, that's the reason why I'm talking on the topic of Prince Cohill, not trying to, I'm blaming you, you're just a messenger.
Yeah.
I'm not trying to go up, and I'm not trying going after chair because that's a good intent. I support the intent, but going forward, that's not what my Prince Cohill meant for our people. And don't take it that I'm trying to bust you up, I'm not. I just was saying, only on that topic that we had talked about, is that the reason why, I mean, I have a hard time with supporting the bill with that right now. Okay, thank you, Chair. Sorry about that. I didn't mean to come off
You're on
that
the
way.
same page, actually.
Yeah,
You're
thank
actually
you.
on the same page.
I didn't, yeah, I was just trying to, collaborate.
Yeah, no, you bring up very valid points. Same
Okay,
points
thank
that-
you, yeah, and I wasn't trying to go after, Colleen not here, that's right. No. Only joking. But yeah, thank you very much for
your
what
comments.
you said. Thank
Yeah,
you.
don't leave it though. Any
Yeah.
other questions, members? Because I actually have a question. The Attorney General brought up a good issue is in terms of specifying what funding source would this be? And one of the things they've suggested as a possibility was a Hawaiian Home Loan Fund. Do you think that would be a viable source of funds if this bill were to pass?
We would have to inquire and confirm with the Attorney General's office.
Okay. For now, I think maybe I'll suggest to the members that we put that in as a suggested placeholder for funds.
Another thing that the Attorney General said was kind of interesting when they talked about the Department of Interior,
Yeah.
they've been missing for a long time, so we better include them somehow, you know what I mean? So appreciate that. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you. Other questions? Yes, Senator Ihara.
Actually, I have a question for the AG.
Sure.
Thank you.
You can still stay there, Tiff, either way. Yeah.
In the testimony, it says that it's unclear whether the recipients of these cash awards continue to be eligible for other benefits. What would be some of the other benefits that are not specified, but that you've raised, allude to that?
So some of the benefits that we mentioned in our testimony are, for example, the right to receive a transfer or to transfer a lease under Section 208, as well as the right to be devised or to devise a lease after your passing. The bill does not specify whether rights such as those, for example, would be relinquished in exchange for the cash award. So we're just noting that perhaps amendments to clarify what, if any, would be.
Okay, and for the Commission on Homeland Department, what would be the department's view about specifying in the bill that a receipt of a cash award for being on the list would be, they would relinquish these rights? So what would be the department's view about this? Whether they should relinquish or not? Do you have a sense?
The current language of the measure requires that the beneficiary would be removed from the waiting list, and therefore it is subject to DOI approval because it amends the Hawaiian Homes Commission Act.
Right.
Yes,
So this is contrary to the Hawaiian Homes Commission Act, are you saying?
it is in conflict with Section 208, correct,
Of the federal?
of the Hawaiian Homes Commission Act, yes.
So would the Congress need to amend
It would be subject to review and approval by the Secretary of the Department of Interior. And there are other steps in the process and eventually it would have to be approved by a majority vote in Congress, correct?
Okay. So it requires a congressional action, basically.
Yes.
Okay, thank you.
Sure, just a follow-up.
Sure.
So what I like what you said was, clarity that they're gonna give up all, if it does go through and the DOI, they're gonna give up all of their rights after they get the payout, right? That's what you was basically saying.
They
That's
would
what Senator
relinquish.
Ihara was saying,
Yes.
because it says that they, they have other, I guess what the AG said about having anything attached, so everything would be relinquished on that final payout.
Yes, they would relinquish all of their rights as a beneficiary on the applicant waiting list.
Thank you, appreciate it.
Other questions? Okay, thank you. Okay, so next we have SB 2435. This authorizes DHHL to administer a lease award program for beneficiaries on the waitlist who are 60 years or older or terminally ill. So first up, we have DHHL with comments. Thank you. Ho'omanapono LLC in support. Okay. Kenneth Favorito in support. Julia Estigoico One in support. Vanessa Visticoin in support. Anyone else here for SB 2435? Okay, yes, please come forward.
Aloha, Angela
Aloha.
Melody Young testifying on behalf of CARES. So in strong support with a proposed amendment. Under the Hawaiian Homes Commission Act, the federal government set aside certain public lands to be considered Hawaiian homelands to be utilized in the rehabilitation of Native Hawaiians, thereby undertaking a trust obligation benefiting the Aboriginal people. And the state of Hawaii assumed this fiduciary obligation upon being admitted into the union as a state. A beneficiary is someone who is Native Hawaiian and has a blood quantum of 50% Hawaiian or more. This is defined as a descendant of not less than 1/2 part of the blood of the races inhabiting the Hawaiian Islands previous to 1778. This has not been amended since the Hawaiian Homes Commission Act passage in 1921. Last year, they did try to revise it, but it didn't pass. I think last year there was something about 1/4% Hawaiian or 25% Hawaiian, and then they can be a beneficiary. So this new policy, the lease award program, requires the beneficiary to be two things so they can assign a successor, right? So the first being is that either they're 60 years old or older or terminally ill, and then they can designate a successor upon receipt of the lease award. So to be more inclusive and to help more Hawaiians, for example, someone who has an accident before 60 years of age, without this proposal, then they can't assign someone in the lease award successor. So, for example, a beneficiary at 50 years old gets cancer, they can pass it on to their daughter. So my proposal is that the age limit for the lease award be the same requirement as the age limit for a beneficiary, which is 18 years old. So at 18 years old, when they become a beneficiary, they can assign a successor with the lease award right away. The Hawaiians deserve their land. The state has an obligation to manage such resources to the Hawaii people. And yeah, thank you for your support.
Thank you very much. Good comments. Anyone else here to testify on SB 2435? Seeing none, members, any questions?
Yeah,
Vice Chair?
Hawaiian Homes. So the previous speaker had said, so I just want clarification. So like, for me, I get awarded and I already in the books it documented at Hawaiian Homes, who's my successor to the property. And 3 days later, I die. Can that successor get into place to get award?
If you're an applicant on the waiting list?
Yeah,
No. The process when an applicant on the waiting list passes away, we wait for a family member to submit a death certificate to the department. After the death certificate is received, we open their file and see if they designated a successor.
right.
We then contact that successor, and if they are interested in succeeding to their position on the waiting list, we go through the process to ensure that they are qualified, but they do not receive a lease when an applicant passes away.
And do they have to be 50%,
Yes.
even though, okay, that's the clarification I wanted, because a lot of them thinking that if I'm the successor and then you are being my success and you come and prove all the documents, that you only need to be 25%, but you need to be 50% to take over my position on the wait list.
Correct. You must be 50% to succeed to an applicant's waiting list position. You must be at least 25% to succeed to a lease.
Okay, so the question that I have then, so when we're talking about this bill being 60 years old, and success if I have a terminal illness, that person that I'm gonna be success could have to have 50%.
Correct.
Okay, so then that's something that we need to figure out how we're gonna amend, because a lot of people that's waiting, figuring out that family members are sick, is what they're thinking, that they don't have the blood quantum, but they have 25%.
Yeah.
Cannot wait for auntie or mama to get the lease, because they're old already, and if they pass away, oof, I know 50%. So I think that's something that we should look at. That's the reason why I'm asking that question, because if it is that way, that you're 60 years old and I'm the son of the mom and dad, and if they pass away or they whatever, and I'm the successor, should be 25%. And I think maybe we need to try to revisit, I mean, not you guys changing, I mean, we're talking about us, revisiting this bill in a sense of, I think that's the whole reason why this bill was taken up. Because plenty of people are dying on the list, they qualified, but their successors couldn't get them because they passed away. We need to amend something to the fact that it says something about the 25%. Appreciate you clearing this up with us. Appreciate it. Thank you,
No,
Chair.
no, that's good questions. Any other questions? Actually, I have a follow-up on that. So one of the amendments I'm thinking about making to this bill, exactly to your point,
Amen.
is to clarify that, you know, what this bill is seeking to do is to actually authorize DHHL, if the commission was to support it, to issue undivided interest leases to people who are elderly or terminally ill. And my understanding is that if you get a undivided interest lease, then you can actually designate a successor who's 25% more. Is that correct assumption?
Yes.
Okay. Okay, so then that's what the aim of this bill is, that they would actually get an undivided interest. But I realize that that's got some issues and problems, and so I'm assuming that this probably would need congressional approval too, probably.
Yes.
Yeah, so that's probably another amendment I have to make.
Correct.
Yeah.
Whether we are considering age or medical diagnosis, preference is preference. And these preferences are not protected by the Hawaiian Homes Commission Act. The only requirement that is outlined is the blood quantum requirement. Also, terminally ill isn't defined in this measure. And as the previous testifier mentioned, that can be subject to different factors, which then can be cause for unintended consequences. So I appreciate that you all are considering the different factors towards this measure.
Oh, great. Oh, welcome, Chair Watson.
Oh, it's
Thank you.
1:30. I apologize.
Okay, oh, no problem, no problem. She's done
Sorry,
great.
that
She's
thing
done
was
a
101.
fantastic job. Yeah, she's done great.
Oh, man.
But I guess we were just clarifying, that, I'm looking at amending SB 2435, which is the one, for elderly and disabled, terminally ill, to clarify that what we're talking about is giving an undivided interest award, authorizing commission to approve, to give an undivided interest lease award to those types of people, so that they could then designate a successor who could be 25% blood quantum. But I realize that that's probably going to require congressional approval,
Yeah, it's
needs
gonna
commission
require that.
approval. So yeah, it's gonna.
I don't have any objections to it. It makes sense, so.
Okay, good. But I know that too, what I've heard too, though, rumblings that in the past, I know that under Mike Akane and others, that undivided interest program, there were some legal concerns. And would this bill maybe help to make it where it's clearly something that the state is going to legalize?
Sure.
Okay,
Yeah, what,
okay. Questions? Yes, Senator Ihara?
I see your testimony on this bill. I was wondering why you didn't include the fact that this bill would require congressional approval.
Well, I thought it was pretty obvious. I mean, it's,
But it's for, so
Yeah.
could you,
sure, it is,
yeah,
it does
because it's
require
a public
congressional
record. If
approval.
someone were to read it, they wouldn't know.
Yeah, okay.
So you cannot assume that people
We're
know.
going to include it then next
Yeah,
time.
okay.
Sorry about that.
Other questions?
Just one follow-up.
Yeah, Senator Vice Chair.
If you guys have the numbers, maybe if you don't have it, can you guys let us know how many waitlisters fall into this category that we're talking about on this bill?
Oh, jeez. That'd be a hard one to
Okay,
answer at this,
Yeah,
we
no, no,
really have
we
to do
don't,
an
yeah.
investigation.
when you can, when you guys can. It was a question not from you, somebody else asked a question, so I just wanted to ask it.
Yeah.
Oh, sure.
Okay,
Yeah.
thank you.
I think I heard a number about like, was it 2,000 have died on the wait list or something like that? It sounds kind of low, but I thought I heard that number.
Yeah, that's a Kalima case.
Okay, yeah, okay, so 2,000 of them
Yeah.
passed, oh, just of that class,
Right.
okay.
Thank you.
Wow,
Pretty
okay.
sad.
Yeah, pretty sad. So the overall number is much higher. Yeah, Senator Keokalole.
Yeah, thank you, Chair. To Senator Ihara's point, in almost every bill that we hear in this committee that proposes some action by the department normally normally is substantive and therefore would trigger a congressional amendment requirement. So just so that it's clear, there have been bills in the past that have been proposed, for example, by some of the beneficiary organizations that propose to make technical changes to the act, and were crafted that way to intentionally avoid triggering a congressional amendment, which has never been done. All of the statutory changes we made over the years just exist unratified by the Congress. So BNF always weighs in on a special fund bill to remind us whether it's a good idea or not. It actually would be very helpful if in your analysis of the measures, you could include whether it would trigger an amendment or not.
Okay,
Yeah,
that's fine.
thank you.
Yeah. Okay,
And so.
go ahead, yes.
So if this bill would move forward, would the department or the AG suggest the same amendment that was, AG has suggested an amendment to Senate Bill 2640, which has, it says as a conditional, it says the act is conditioned upon approval by congressional committee chair or congressional approval itself. This was in their testimony on Senate Bill 2640. And I'm not sure, were you thinking of that? or-
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, I think I'm gonna put it in
Yeah,
there,
we answered our own question.
just to be safe, yeah, since it's kind of substantive.
Thank you.
Okay, any other questions? Okay, we might as well stay there, because the next bill, you're the first on the list anyway. SB 2594 is the next one. This authorizes qualified successors of beneficiaries on the waiting list who died before receiving a lease to file a claim for an award within 4 years. So first we have DHHL with comments.
We stand on our written testimony with comments, and we're here for questions.
Okay, thanks so much. Then we have Lou Ann Favorito in support, Kenneth Favorito support, Raynette Fukui support, Earl Ten support, and Ho'omanapono LLC in support. I think he's gonna come up. So yeah, if you folks can, thank you so much. Thanks so much, Kalai. Ana Ole.
Aloha mai kako, once again, Man Kalai Manaole, co-manager Ho'omanapono, Native Hawaiian Advocacy, out of Waianae. And I want to say hello to our awesome chair, Kali Watson. Anyway, so this bill right here, you already got my testimony on it. I just wanted to know if I could make one small amendment and a small ask. This one hit home to me personally. I know I didn't submit my testimony under my corporation, but for me personally, it hits home. My mom was on a wait list for 30 years when she died in 1995. And I don't like be the second generation to die on a list. When I woke up at 2 o'clock in the morning this morning, I wanted at first to see that my mom is honored with this bill. But when I look at the landscape, I know of a situation where there's somebody in the department who cannot get homestead simply because her dad passed away, and not be able to pass it on to her. Yet she's in charge of working on getting Hawaiians on the land, other Hawaiians on the land. And his name is Fred Keaka Okalani Kachola. You know, Uncle Fred did a lot of work in Lahui. He's a revered man in Lahui. His involvement go way back. And I remember having story with Uncle Joe Tasso, who brought Uncle Fred's name to my attention. If it wasn't for Uncle Fred being at Kamehameha Schools, Uncle Joe Tasso would have never have been able to get the funding that he needed to do the youth program at on the Big Island. And so I just want to know if we could name this bill in honor of Uncle Fred, and to be able to somehow, if it passed, that Julie could then realize her dream of not only putting Hawaiians on the land, but being able to put herself on the land, or get herself be put on the land. Julie does a lot of great work with the department. She's been there for years. Everybody that knows her loves her. I mean, she's a workaholic, you know, she injured and everything, and she still does her work. And I just wanted to honor her and her father, Fred, and that his memory to continue to reside and sound with us, that a bill like this could be honored in his name. Thank you.
Thank you. Excellent suggestion.
Yeah.
Appreciate it. Thank you very
And
much.
one last thing, congressional approval issues. Me personally, you know, those guys over there in Congress, they can't even agree on whether they're gonna have lollipop or ice cream today. And ain't nobody gonna come over here and tell us what we can and cannot do. I mean, this is our lands, and this is our state, and under the political protest doctrine, the Hawaii Supreme Court already stated that what the political question is up to the legislature to decide. And under Hawaii Vice Statutes 10H2, the Hawaii legislature already stated Hawaiians have a right to self-determination, self-governance. Section 101 of the Act, Hawaiians have the right to self-determination, self-governance. So if we're going to be self-determined and self-governed, then maybe we should be allowed to decide for ourselves what we like to do. Aloha.
Thank you. Well said. Well said. Anyone else here for SB 2594? Seeing none, members, any questions? Okay, let's move on then. SB 2646. This increases the loan limit for direct loans provided by DHHL to 75% of the maximum single residence loan amount allowed in Hawaii by the United States Department of Housing and Urban Development's Federal Housing Administration, instead of 50% as is currently outlined. So first up, we have DHHL in support.
The department stands on its testimony in strong support of this measure, which was approved by the commission and included in governor's administrative package.
Very good. Okay, thank you.
I think 47, probably in the same vein, just trying to
Okay,
expand 30 to 40 years.
yeah, the two bills seem related, yeah, interrelated. Okay, okay, very good. Thank you. Okay, so noted. Ho'omanapono LLC also in support. Stands for, okay. Lou Favorito in support. Julia Estegoy Ho'one also in support. Anyone else here for SB 2646? Seeing none, members, any questions? Okay, then we'll go on to SB 2647, and this increases the allowable loan term for direct loans provided by DHHL to 40 years instead of 30 years as is currently outlined in section 215 of HHCA. And so DHHL is in support,
Yeah, I think we talked about it already.
Yep.
It's that two.
both approved by
Yeah,
the commission.
Right.
Very good. Ho'omanapono LLC in support. Okay. Regina Gregory in support. Luann Favorito in support. Anyone else here for SB 2647? Seeing none, members, any questions? Okay, then next we have SB 2780. This requires DHHL to complete an assessment and report on the feasibility of digitizing its applicant, beneficiary, and lease records and creating an interactive digital database software program. So first we have DHHL in support.
We stand on our testimony in support.
Okay,
Let me just add, though, with respect to making an assessment, I think we passed that point.
Mhm.
We don't need to make an assessment.
okay,
We'd rather just get the funding to implement it.
Okay.
We're working with Salesforce. We have a couple consultants working with us. We're trying to implement it. We're trying to get sufficient funds to do the training. I just had a meeting with quite a few of the lenders. We had a workshop trying to get those guys to also use Salesforce. Several of the developers are starting to use Salesforce. And this is real key when you start doing large developments like we're going to be doing. There's a ton of different data that has to be not only collected, but shared, integrated, coordinated in order to get these projects moving at the pace we're trying to do it. And so this is a great bill, but we don't need an assessment. We need money to implement it, really.
Okay, how much?
I think we were talking about maybe 5 or 6 million.
Okay. Okay, 5, 6 million, got it. Okay, very good. Okay, thank you. Okay. Ho'oponopono LLC in support. Okay. Julia Estigoy Koho'one, these are all in support. Kenneth Favorito, Lou Favorito, Earl Tan, Rosie Davis. And then we have Center for Hawaiian Sovereignty Studies with comments. Anyone else here for SB 2780? You see none members, any questions?
Yeah, I
Yes,
have
Senator
so,
Kilolele.
Director, you and I have discussed a different type of assessment that I think would probably make a lot of sense if you're able to put the system in appropriately, and that's an assessment of your wait list and collect a little bit more granular data that something like Salesforce would be able to help you guys have a lot more reach and a lot more understanding of where everybody is, who they are, what they need, and what they want, right? So I'm wondering if it might help to, in addition to the implementation of a system, propose some resources for you guys to do the outreach, right? Because if you have a great new system that's easier to work with and clearer to pull data on and stuff, it's still not very helpful if you don't have good up-to-date information on where your beneficiaries are.
Right.
Yeah. Okay. Thank you.
Other questions? Actually, I have a question. I noted in your testimony that you said you might need some time. Should we make this maybe 2 years out? 2 years?
Well, if you're talking about assessment, I mean, we're doing the projects already. So, we're actually integrating. We're bringing on several people to do the training. We already have Salesforce. We're using it. Several of the developers will start to use it. So we have several projects, especially big ones, that are, starting to move forward. We've selected developers. So they also recognize the importance of this type of digitization and use of it. It's not on just the applications, it's more the loans, the construction information that has to be shared with all the different parties. There needs to be a coordination, and the key is Salesforce. And then there's also the need for, spreading it out to our outer islands. There's a lot of our projects on the outer islands. So even the district managers and staff out there, they also need to be integrated in the process all across the board. Homestead Services, ASO, or Land Management Division. There's other areas, not just on building vertical. We're also trying to get active in our industrial as well as commercial. And so we also need to manage the lands we have that generate revenue. There's a lot of issues when reopeners kick in, what's the rent, and there's just a ton of information across the board that's needed. And I think this particular program will help in more ways than just development of housing.
Okay, so actually I wanted to check, with maybe, I think this is your bill, right, Senator Kilcole? All it was is Lynette DeCoy's. So I wonder if we should, based on the testimony from the chair, shift the focus rather than saying we want to report on the assessment, the feasibility report, say that we actually want DHHL to implement this digitization initiative. And from what I'm hearing from you,
that's what we want.
Give you 2 years to implement? Would that be a fair?
Yeah, 2 years is fine, but we're implementing it now.
Okay.
So we just need a little bit more money, or not a little bit, but some money to do it.
Yeah, and we'll do maybe a blank appropriation amount. Yes.
So you keep saying Salesforce. So to be clear, that's the private vendor that you've already procured and contracted with to operate the system.
It's been in operation.
It's their
for a while.
system that you guys are operating.
Right.
So if you already have a contracted platform and a system to implement, then can you help us? Can you explain exactly what you need the money for?
Well, in order to use that particular Salesforce, you have to purchase licenses. Each staff person that is going to use it has to have a license. And so we have close to 200 people on our staff. And so we're going to have to, across the board, issue licenses. We also have, the need for our outer islands. We have different groups, like the lenders would like to be active with them. I wouldn't be opposed to, actually subsidizing some of the use of the licenses and Salesforce with outside vendors, just so that we can integrate their activities with ours and do our job more effectively, including them. So, it is an expensive program. We're in the process of trying to update it and make it more retrofit some of the needs we have. Each division within our department has certain unique subtle differences that need to be kind of changed and tweaked so as to be more effective. And so there's just a lot of things that need to be done. Besides the structural integrity of the system, we also, like I said, the training. We're also bringing on new staff. We've lost some key members in our loans program. So new staff members have to be educated and trained. Also trying to bring on additional staff that specifically work with the Salesforce, with the different developers, including the different lenders and so forth. So it's an expensive process. And at the level we're going to be developing, I think, just to be on the safe side, we need to have sufficient funds to make that happen.
So I understand that. I think it might be helpful if you could provide us with some detail on exactly what the funding would be for specifically. Because, for example, if you've already procured this app platform, I'm wondering why things like licenses were not originally accounted for when you contracted with them. You don't need to give me a response right now. That would be helpful in distinguishing between the money that you need to train your personnel on the system,
Sure.
to perhaps reorganize some of your branches, because often when we talk about software implementations in any agency, a lot of times those IT upgrades fail because the teams in the different offices don't want to change their process.
Exactly.
They want to reconfigure some software answer to the way that they've been doing it for the last 40 years, when it really should be the other way around.
Sure.
Right? Salesforce is used all over the country, and that's why they win contracts. So some of the office processes have to change to accommodate, rather than us paying money to customize system. So if you could detail exactly what the plan would be for the money, I think that would be helpful.
Sure. Just as an example, the one developer that has acquired 10 licenses, as well as a program, it's costing him $500,000 just for 10 licenses. So it's not a cheap, it's very effective, but it's very costly, as an example.
Right. Thank you.
Thank you. Other questions? Okay, let's move on then to the final bill on our agenda, which is SB 2655. This allows the Hawaiian Homes Commission to retain independent legal counsel and authorizes them to use the services of the Attorney General as needed. So first we have DHHL in support.
We stand on our written testimony in strong support.
Okay. Next we have the Attorney General in opposition.
Good afternoon again, Chair Shimabukuro and Vice Chair Favela and members of the committee. Deputy Attorney General Jordan Ching on behalf of the Department of the Attorney General. The department opposes this measure for the reasons stated in its testimony, but the main reasons being that it's unnecessary, given that there are currently mechanisms in place for the department to obtain independent counsel subject to approval by the Attorney General and the Governor. Further, the Hawaiian Homes Commission, which is the same legal entity as the Department of Hawaiian Homelands, it's just being the head of the Department of Hawaiian Homelands, is one of the department is one of the 19 or one of the principal state agencies of the government, where the Attorney General is best suited to represent their legal needs for their expertise in a wide range of topics, including the laws that that public agencies are subject to. And finally, the Hawaiian Homes Commission, because it is not an independent legal entity, it cannot be the expending agency, which this bill proposes. And for those reasons, the department opposes this measure.
Thank you very much. Next, we have Ho'omanapono LLC in support.
Aloha again,
Aloha.
Kalai. It's interesting that Attorney General's office will hold that position because just last Friday, we had a very contentious hearing. You know what I mean? Where the department is taking a position and the commission is taking a separate position. And I like to say, who is representing our interests? Traditionally, the commission is the one that is there to support our interests or put our interests first. That's what they always say. And then, of course, the department, they have the administrative process that they got to go through to implement the act. But it's the commission that actually approves a lot of the requests that comes from the department. That's two separate entities. You know what I mean? And in the past, I've accused the department and the commission of being one and the same, and I will be checked on that and say, wait. You know, the department is the department and the commission is the commission. And so when you have issues that arise that we particularly, as a beneficiary, trust beneficiaries, of which I am, you know, and I'm saying to the commission, hey, you need to support my position, and the department takes a different approach, or they reject that condition, and then what happens if I like sue, right? I give you an example. So recently I brought up in an October meeting, I brought up about indigent Native Hawaiians, right? The list as it exists right now is not for us indigent Native Hawaiians. It's a list of haves and have-nots. If you get money, you can qualify for any other programs that they get. But if you no more money, you broke. You don't make that kind of money to qualify for anything, homestead, agriculture, pastoral, or industrial. The list don't apply to us. Luckily for us, we have an administration right now that heard that call and directed me to work with somebody in the department, and the commission didn't oppose that. But imagine if the department said, no, we're not going to take that issue, right? Now we're going to have to think about litigating against the department. And if the commission says, no, we like what Demont said, you know what I mean? Now you're going to have a conflict between the department and the commission. So obviously, you know, whether they both paid, well, the commission is not paid by the state, they just get stipends. Those two entities are separate and distinct when it comes to the trust beneficiaries. So I think that they should have different counsel. Thank you. Aloha.
Thank you. Next, we have Center for Hawaiian Sovereignty Studies with comments. Anyone else here for SB 2655? See none, members, any questions? Vice Chair?
Attorney General, okay.
No, go ahead.
Well, as you can see, authors of the bill is two attorneys, so I don't know the law. But to me, what is the pilikia for this really? I mean, I understand your logistics of what you're saying, but I as a simple non-attorney legal person, and the chair is also an attorney, don't know the terminology of what you're saying, so can you, sorry. Sorry. Everybody has said me.
No, he's not. Yeah.
Everybody has said me here.
No, he's not.
So, no, but he knows legal terminology. That's my counsel right there. Anyway, so can you kind of elaborate for some plain terms, like I can understand, because I cannot understand. Sorry.
Okay. Yeah. No. And thank you. And just to, as stated in our testimony, but perhaps in putting it a different way.
Okay, please.
The HHL is one of the state agencies, and it's one of the principal agencies of the state. And the Hawaiian Homes Commission, which was created under the Hawaiian Homes Commission Act, it establishes the department as well as the commission as the head of that agency. So they are one single legal entity and as one of the principal state agencies of our government, the Department of the Attorney General is best suited to fill their legal needs, given, for all the reasons stated in our testimony, but noting that we have expertise in all the laws that public agencies are subject to, including our sunshine laws or procurement laws. Those are laws that attorneys in the private sector are not familiar, and they would certainly have to become familiar with in order to properly advise the department and the commission as well. So for reasons such as that, the Attorney General's office deals with many different legal issues, relating to, and they have a wide amount of expertise through a bunch of different legal issues. So for those reasons, the Attorney General's office is best suited to serve the commission and the department's legal needs. And again, this measure, this measure is unnecessary because there are already mechanisms in place where independent counsel can be retained, subject to approval by the Attorney General and the governor if it's deemed if it's deemed necessary for reasons like a conflict or things like that.
The only reason why I'm saying this is because when we're talking to beneficiaries and things that need to be done in a timely manner, going through all of those channels, understand your grounds for that, but how is that benefiting the beneficiary who needs stuff done in a timely manner if they have to approve from you, not you, but Attorney General's office and then the governor's office, and then we go from there. That's the reason why I never really understand that, because if you have all of this mechanism in place, how is the beneficiaries going to benefit moving forward in a timely manner and having something legally done if the discretion doesn't fall? And don't get me wrong, you know me, I'm not always for certain things Hawaiian Home is going to be doing, but this is one of the things that I cannot understand with my colleagues, that it's for beneficiary for the beneficiaries. You see what I mean?
Mm.
So that's my stance on that. Thank you for clearing it up. Appreciate it. Thank you, Chair.
Okay, Senator Coley.
Yeah, can I just clarify? So I understand your position in your testimony, but it seems like fundamentally this bill is just about the discretion to determine when independent counsel should be retained. Because I don't think there's anyone arguing that the commission should pay a private firm at a premium to deal with commission procedural issues, like when to go into executive session and things that the Attorney General's office already provides, has expertise at, and is funded to promote. We don't need to pay some Bishop Street firm to learn how to do that and then advise us at $500 an hour. But as an example, the Nelson case, which was the sufficient sums case, if I remember correctly, independent counsel was not retained. The state lost the case. Then the commission was put in the awkward position of being forced to advocate for sufficient sums of money necessary to administer the department in conflict with the governor's recommendations. So regardless of the record of the case, I just would like some clarity that this bill is about placing the discretion to determine when to retain independent counsel would be with the commission rather than with the governor. Because right now, that discretion falls with the governor, right?
That's correct.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, give any other questions? Okay, Senator Ihara.
So if there was a conflict, so I guess the first question is, wanted to confirm that Hawaiian Homeland Commission, as well as the department, they are, there's a significant legal status than the other departments, of the other 18 departments?
No, they're one of the state,
I know, but
yeah.
are they legally the same
The Hawaiian Homes Commission and the department.
from the other departments?
I'm sorry, I'm not sure if I understand.
So, doesn't the Hawaiian Homelands Commission and Department have a trust duty that the other departments do not have?
I would have to, I think I would have to take that question under advisement and perhaps provide a written response to that.
Okay.
I believe the answer is yes.
That is, yeah, please, that would be nice. I thought it was done many years ago, but anyway, so, thank you. So, it would seem that there would be a potential built-in conflict of interest between, so the department and commission could sue the state of Hawaii when they disagree on how to handle the Hawaiian homelands.
You're asking if the department has the ability to?
No, so you're saying that there are processes in place to handle the conflict of interest?
Yes.
What are those processes?
They would, if
They would still be subject to the governor's approval and agency?
yes, under
Right,
28.3,
so
yes.
what if instead of, so I know, I'm not sure if the governor would veto the bill. I know this bill has had problems in the past because of the attorney general's opposition. But what if basically the commission could hire outside attorneys without the approval? In other words, the AG still represents the department, but when there is a conflict, then the department can hire its own attorney general, own attorneys, without the approval of the governor and the AG. That's a different kind of a slightly different, it's a compromise maybe. I'm not sure if it's a compromise, probably not to the AG, but it could be a compromise. It's sort of you're acknowledging the potential conflict, and when there is, then the commission can decide its own path, separate from the state's interest.
Like our position as stated in the testimony is that there are sufficient mechanisms in place under the current law drafted where that can be considered.
You're representing the department's position pretty well. Thank you.
Other questions, Vice Chair Favela?
So, see, I want to understand what he just said, but I don't think you would understand. He was saying of all the departments, Hawaiian Homes is different, and the commission is different than all the rest of the departments. That's what he was saying.
Perhaps I misunderstood. I mean, so under the Hawaiian Homes Commission Act, yeah. That's
I
free.
think that was the
Oh,
interpretation.
maybe I didn't
Yeah.
draft it.
Yeah, but I understood what you was
Oh,
going on, yeah.
Yeah.
Thank you, Chris. That's like sometimes we on the same, but that's why I said, see, sometimes I can understand my colleagues, but I think that's what he was trying to implement. And they are, and it is, you know what I mean? So they are, and it is. So what he's saying and what we're saying, and to give the discretion of the commission when they're not only doing the people's work or the beneficiaries' work, in having the discretion to do so, to have to do what you're saying to need to do is okay when coming to the other departments. But when it comes to Hawaiian Homes and the commission, it's a different mechanism, because right now you're throwing everybody in the same pot. And as like Senator Ihara was saying, Hawaiian Homes is different. The commission is different. So it's a standalone state agency. It doesn't stand on the same feet as same legs, whatever, as the other departments. And that's something that I think you don't need to answer it, but it's something that I think you should take under advisement and discuss with the Attorney General in going forward, because you already know our stance on this and where this bill is going in our mind. But I just wanted to clarify and kind of share my manao. Thank you, Chair.
Other questions? Okay, seeing none, let's adjourn the hearing then. Does anybody, or for recess the hearing, excuse me. Okay, we're reconvening for decision-making the Hawaiian Affairs 1 p.m. hearing. So starting with SB 2921, which is amending the appropriation in Act 279 to conform its lapsing provision by 1 year and to conform to constitutional limitations. Recommendation is to pass as is. And SMA, just let me know if there are technical amendments that you came up with late, right? At this point, I understand there's not for anything. Okay, so yeah, passing as is, SB 2921. So Vice Chair for the vote.
Chair, Senator Shirobakuro,
Aye.
Senator, that's me, aye. Senator Ihara,
Aye.
Senator Kehokalole,
Aye.
Senator Richards is excused, and motion passes.
Thank you. SB 2640, This is amends Hawaiian Homes Commission Act to authorize DHHL to provide cash awards to beneficiaries in lieu of a lease. Recommendation is to pass with amendments. I'm going to recommend we adopt the Attorney General's recommended amendments. We also clarify that a beneficiary chooses this option only loses their right to go back onto the wait list. Otherwise, they're still entitled to other rights under the Hawaiian Homes Commission Act. We also want to specify the source of funds as the Hawaiian Home Loan Fund. It's a placemaker at this point, of course, could change later. And then any technical amendments that might come up. Any concerns or discussion? Seeing none, then Vice Chair. So passing with amendments.
All right, Senator Shimabukuro, Chair.
Aye.
Me is nay. Senator Ihara,
Aye.
Senator Kewakolole,
Aye.
Senator Richards is excused.
Okay, thank you so much. SB 2435, this authorizes DHHL to administer a lease award program for beneficiaries on the wait list who are 60 years old or older or terminally ill. Recommendation is to pass with amendments. I wanted just to make it clear that we're talking about an undivided interest lease award program for this population. And in that sense, also clarifying that then these undivided interest awards can be passed on to a qualified successor who is at least 25% Hawaiian blood quantum. Also want to make it clear that this bill is at the discretion of the Hawaiian Homes Commission. And let's see. And also define terminally ill as means having an illness or condition which cannot be cured and is likely to lead to the beneficiary's death. Note that this is going to require congressional approval and also give DHHL 2 years from the effective date to promulgate the rules. And there's some other technical amendments. Any discussion? Okay, seeing none, then Vice Chair to pass on the amendments.
All right, all senators at the Committee of Hawaiian Affairs, any nays or any reservations? Motion passes.
Thank you. I just know that Senator Richards is excused.
Oh, yeah, so Senator Richards is excused. I wrote them down, though.
Okay, great, very good. Okay, then next, SB 2594 authorizes qualified successors of beneficiaries on the wait list who died before receiving a lease to file a claim within 4 years. Recommendation passed with amendments. And again, similar to the previous bill, I want to clarify that we're talking about basically a posthumous undivided interest award that could be claimed by a successor who's at least 25% blood quantum. And we want to name this the Fred Kiaka Okalani Kachola Bill. And we want to make it this at the discretion of the Hawaiian Homes Commission. Also subject to congressional approval. And also, again, giving 2 years to DHHL to adopt rules if this becomes effective. Any discussion? Okay, seeing none, then for the vote.
All right, all senators present have any, any nays and then Senator Richards is excused. So motion passes.
Okay, thank you. Then SB 2646 increases the loan limit for direct loans provided by DHHL to 75% of the maximum single residence loan amount allowed by HUD instead of 50%. And so recommendation is to pass as is. Any discussion? None. Okay, for the vote.
All right, all senators present, except Senators Richard is excused. All ayes, motion passes.
SB 2647 increases allowable loan term for direct loans provided by DHHL to 40 years instead of 30 years as is currently in the Act. Recommendation is to pass as is. Any discussion?
All senators present, except for Senator Richards is excused. Okay, motion passes.
Okay, SB 2780 requires DHHL to complete an assessment and report on feasibility of digitizing its applicant, beneficiary, and lessee records. Recommendation is to pass with amendments. We are going to, rather than have an assessment as is described in the bill, we're going to ask DHHL to conduct the beneficiary assessment and provide a blank appropriation for that. In addition, we also want them to implement the digitization as is described in this bill, since they're already in the process of doing so, and include a blank appropriation for that implementation. Give DHHL 2 years for the implementation to happen. And note in the committee report that DHHL is seeking approximately $6 million to implement this initiative. and a blank amount for the beneficiary assessment. Any discussion? Seeing none, Vice Chair.
Okay, all senators present in the Hawaiian Affairs Committee, any reservations, any nays? Excusing Senator Richard, motion passes.
Okay, thanks. And then for the last bill, SB 2655, allows Hawaiian Homes Commission to retain independent legal counsel. Recommendation is to pass as is, but to note the AG's concerns in the committee report. Any discussion? Then measure, I'm good with Vice Chair.
Yes. Again, all senators in Hawaiian Affairs Committee present, except Senator Richards is excused. Any reservations or nays? Motion passes, Chair.
Okay, thank you very much. We are adjourned. See you on Thursday, 1 o'clock.